Look, I think if we know now, if we knew then what we know today, I can tell you we made a terrible mistake. But I think it was what it was at the time. If you look at with Botswana was a product of HFF already campaigning. I started to really have sensing something, and you can imagine during the time when I was campaigning, the DA didn't give me a cent, and I spent roughly 4 million rands of my own. Helen and Tony Leon, they gave up on what they called experiments. So we didn't realize that we went in there because of frustration with ANC corruption and mismanagement. And we thought there were an alternative. In the meantime, we didn't realize that these people are trying us as experiments. But then they failed to understand the issue of trying to rape a friend's wife in the home. And this was the man representing us as a party. I said to Senate, I said, this man must go out and must go out as soon as possible. We can never associate with such characters. Those reports must come back. And those who listen to Jeff Makup will face the consequences because it is illegal what they did. They're in contempt of council-approved projects. So you can imagine. But
Cyril Ramaphosa, Helen Zille, who's the better devil?
Same cloth. Same.
Mashiane Politically Incorrect. When the city of Tshwane started in this administration, I was somewhat taken aback, mostly because we doubted who Dr. Nasiphi Moya was. But I think for what it's worth, we've actually seen who she was and what kind of credentials she came with. Educational, non-material in the city because she's dealing with people in cancer, but she's proven us a great deal. We predicted it, that ActionSA will take the leadership. At the time, we thought it's going to be Mr. Mashaba who has done it. We were very wrong. But one thing I want to credit him is it is him who came to the South African political landscape and changed the whole thing. I mean, 2021, a big surprise for people in South Africa, ActionSA. Where did it come from? It came from him saying, take off my suits. I'm going to get dirty with the pigs in politics. We just want to understand how the journey has been. Tate Mashaba, Tobe.
Thank you so much, Tate Mashiane. It's really a pleasure to invite me to your podcast and really have this honest engagement around the future of our country. And it's interesting what you've just said in your opening remarks regarding Dr. Nasiphi Moya. I remember when I approached her about the removal of Sylvia Brink, and I said to her that I'm going to suggest to our Senate. The Senate is our highest decision-making body of our party.
Yes.
She was completely taken by surprise. I'm sure we were in a man's crowd doing raids of illegal foreigners in Temba. By then, I'd already made up my mind, obviously, after listening to our councillors, the frustration that we're having with the DA, mayor at the time, Celia Brink, his arrogance was really beyond tolerance. And then decided, you know what, this man, honestly, cannot really do this to us. We're going to remove him. I'm going to talk to our Senate that we remove him. However, when I looked at the numbers in the city of Tshwane, if I look at the DA and Freedom Front Plus and the ANC and EFF, both of them can't run the city without ActionSA numbers. So obviously, if I remove Celia Brink and distance us from the DA and Freedom Front Plus, that basically means that I run the risk of putting our capital city under administration because no one will have the majority. So I think my view was that let me try something else instead of compromising the future of our country. Because one thing for sure, I had already made up my mind. Our relationship with the DA in Tshwane was over at the time. So, yeah, then I approached the ANC to say, guys, here's my proposal. We are going to remove this arrogant mayor who's failed, who's refusing to provide services to our poor communities and running the city like it is his own property. So I said to the ANC and EFF, guys, I'm happy to really work with you. But one condition, I have someone I believe very strongly that will turn things around. That's a committed person, someone working for our party. It's already obviously at the time we had assigned her as a deputy mayor, and she was also experiencing difficulties with Celia Brink. Yeah. People at the time, analysts, they were under impression listening to them on the radios and television saying Mashaba is going to take over. I just watched and had to convince my team. And I had to convince even our highest decision-making body because some of them were saying, but can we trust the ANC? But I said to her, can we trust the DA after what they've done to us? We here, I'm not talking academic. I know ANC is corrupt, but we can't allow our capital city to be without government. So let's try them. And my proposal, I gave them a proposal of suggesting Nasipi Moya. Obviously, everything else is history. And without any shade of doubt that she exceeded my expectations. I had confidence in her. But what she's achieved, her commitment to her work, her bravery, and her ethical behavior, it's what inspires me. I'm actually really very proud to South African to see a young black woman doing what Nasip is doing, working very closely with the ANC and EFF. I personally have experience of working with the EFF when I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg. Very cooperative. They were really very supportive partners during my administration in the city of Johannesburg. And it's very strange enough, and I think possibly strange, but I think positive for the future of the country that we can have an opportunity to really work with EFF and ANC under our leadership, that we can work in such a cordial manner.
It is that work that you're talking about. She exceeded the task. She went better than you thought. We are going to discuss. But let's start. I want to take it back to, that's why I say you change the political landscape in South Africa by going into active politics, and you headed Johannesburg. I mean, there's nothing as big as Johannesburg in Africa, and you led there. And I'm using words that don't even align. Unfortunately, you did much better than the people who sent you.
It's interesting. I don't remember at the time even a single analyst who gave me a chance. They thought I was the biggest joke. I mean, it's on record. They thought that DA has made a terrible mistake by the bringing on board. And I didn't care about them.
Yeah,
because, and at the time, we can imagine, to be honest with you, and I'm on record to say, look, I had no idea whatsoever when I accepted to be the DA mayoral candidate and be the executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg. I had no idea whatsoever what the mayor does. I had no idea. So I had to learn on the job.
And you did so well that the people who sent you, I'm going to call it the day of Helen Zille, they got surprised that, in fact, you even listened to the people. You gave the people what they wanted. You made security guards and cleaners. You made them people. You made them people. You employed them. They had livelihoods because you listened to them. Do you think they chiefly hated you for that?
Well, I think Helen Zille in particular, because there are lots of good people within the DM, but unfortunately, Helen Zille wasn't really happy and working with the Institute of Race Relations. You remember at the time when I left, she was with the Institute of Race Relations. They didn't like what I was doing in the sense of focusing energies of provision of public services to poor communities. And I was really very vocal against Cyril Ramaphosa. One of the things that also made them really very uncomfortable with me was my criticism of Cyril Ramaphosa. So they then decided to approach the ANC to say, look, let's remove this man and we will get you DA-wide councillors to vote for the ANC motion of no confidence, which is something I find really very strange and weird. But fortunate enough, I'm a big student of history. You know, I know people like Helen and right wing elements. I mean, it's in the history records so that independent Black people are not really welcome. So they go all out to ensure that Black people must accept that they are an inferior race. So it's something that is there. Sure, I'm not making it up, and I lived it. I'm 66. I lived to really work with the right-wing elements. Every time a Black person rises up or they see what they call a clever Black, it's not acceptable to them because it negate what they stand for. So because they have to keep continuing to ensure that Black people must accept that they're an inferior race. And I've been against that. So that's why in 1985, exactly 41 years ago, when I started business, we came out with a name for my products called Black Like Me. And I use commerce to give Black people hope and make them proud of themselves. And in the process, I made lots of money, you know. So I think I think I'm that kind of person. I mean, you can imagine at the age I was 24, so at the time when Walter Dube from here in Mabopane, we were debating names here. So I'm looking for the name that can resonate with our people. Walter's part of the name suggested Black Like Me. And I immediately said, we've got it. After a few days of debating the different names. And Walter Dube was a revolutionary Black entrepreneur. I mean...
the advantage of not having a script, Tate Mashaba, is I can squeeze in anything I want, and if you are willing to talk to me, please educate us who are not as old when the Mangope Buputatswana gave opportunities for people around that time. What is it that you'd want to talk about Buputatswana, the business acumen that you, because Umutwa Buputatswana. What is it? Is there any positive that you could tell us about Buputatswana?
Well, look, I think if we know now, if we knew then what we know today, I can tell you we made a terrible mistake. But I think it was what it was at the time. If you look at Botswana was a product of HFR route. I mean, it was an evil system to make us not be South Africans, because the whole idea behind the whole homeland system was to take our South African citizenship and really put us into tribal authorities. So Botswana, for that reason, was one of that. But I think if you look at all the homeland systems, Lucas Mangope was a visionary. In terms of governance, what actually he used the the apartheid government and system for the benefit of the Botswana people and those who lived in Bophuthatswana. I lived in Bophuthatswana. I did not. They refused. Actually, Lucas Mangope's government refused to give me IDs. So I had to force myself, because I was born, raised that fourth generation of
So you were a foreigner in Bophuthatswana?
Yeah, I was a foreigner because they refused to give me when I turned 16, they refused to give me the Bophuthatswana citizenship and ID. So
what reasons were they advanced?
Because I'm
Xolani,
so they said I must go to Gazankulu. I'd never heard of Gazankulu. I don't have family there. I don't know where it was at the time.
How was Hammanskraal around that when you grew up? Was it as mixed as it is now?
Well, at the moment, we're full of the illegal aliens.
Now
over and above.
Yes.
The Hammanskraal has always been a mixed community, but mainly northern Soto. Well, more especially the village I come from and the neighboring ones. My village, Haramutse, used to fall under, even today, falls under Khosikekana from Majane. And then we had areas like Marokolong, Suruman, and so forth. All of them, all those villages fell under Khosikekana, who was northern Soto. My own mother, her grandfather was a priest that came from Sikukuni, but obviously they ended up, and Babana was born in Majaneng and got a boyfriend and eventually got married in Ramotse, in the Mashaba family. That's why I'm such a terrible human being in terms of mastering languages, because being born in that environment of dominated by Northern Soto, but a mixed one for that matter, because what happened is my community in Haramutse, our school, the only school in Haramutse was Libilo Primary School. In fact, Marokolong never had a school whatsoever. People of Marokolong had to travel to Haramutse to come and do schooling from sub A up to standard 6. And then obviously by the time in 1974, when I went to high school, Gotemba, to go to Ratshepo, the high school, I ended up having to do Tswana. So it was that kind of environment where, you at school you do Tswana, but when you come back in the community, you speak Sipitori,
Yes.
the Pitori language. I don't know if anyone,
Yes.
but what Pitori Waruta fell out, Pitori.
Very
I don't know,
Yes.
So, yeah, that was the kind of environment. And then obviously in 1976, 77, then the area became Bophuthatswana. And when I turned 16, it was already Bophuthatswana in 1976. I remember when I turned 16 in 1976, applied for my ID, then go to the Bophuthatswana offices in Temba. They said, no, Mashaba, you must go to Gazankulu. Fortunately enough, the old the Bantu administration offices were still there, just outside, next to the Jubilee Hospital. So I went there. They insisted on being given ID, which I still have. If I knew, I would have brought the reference book. It was called the reference book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So reference book, is it different from Dompas?
It's a Dompas. Dompas was the name that we, the community, just called it.
Okay.
But the government called it the reference book, a brown one.
All right. So you ended up becoming a South African instead of Bophuthatswana.
No. I was not even a South African. I was, I don't know, I did not have citizenship of South Africa.
So during the Bantustans, I carried the way conclave countries within South Africa. And when Bophuthatswana rejected you, you went to the main government. I just want you to
Yes,
make it easy for
people. Basically, yes, I became a South African, like people in Soweto or Atteridgeville and so forth. Though you remember, even people of Soweto were not South Africans. So Soweto, Atteridgeville, where the labor supply areas. The people of the Soweto, if you were Tsonga, you still had to really belong to a Tsonga kind of area. Or Soshanguve, let me bring it next to Soshanguve. You know,
Shawelo and
that's how I then fell into that category as much as I lived in Luputatswana. But then when I then decided to really go into business, Walter Dube, he's the one who, him and Uncle Nets. Uncle Nets was a very prominent businessman from Garangua. They used to call him. He had a big supermarket there. And him and when I approached Walter Dube for a loan, then spoke to Uncle Nets, and the two of them, they're the ones who advanced me the loan to start Blacklight Me in January of 1985.
Brilliant story. Brilliant. Now, let's talk about when did you know and how that these people that you are working with, they actually want you out when you were in Johannesburg DA?
Well, literally from the beginning, even when I was already campaigning, I started to really have sensing something. And you can imagine during the time when I was campaigning, the DA didn't give me a cent. And I spent roughly 4 million rands of my own money, as much as DA did not need my money. Why I had to spend some of my money for my campaign, because sometimes during the campaign, certain things were there for the DA to really get money for those campaigns. They didn't think necessary. I remember actually one of the projects, even today, Solim Simanga, when I bought, I was buying my own T-shirts, Mashaba for mayor. John Moody was the DA provincial chairperson. So he knew about the resources that I've got. I was ordering a big number of T-shirts and said, can you please do us a favor, Herman? Came to my house, says, can you organize the same number of T-shirts for Solim Simanga? I had no problem. So I bought him lots of T-shirts. And what is interesting about it, the man even up to today never came to thank me. Those T-shirts that...
Plus minus, how much was that Solim Simanga campaign T-shirts? How much did you spend for him?
I think
the number and maybe the money. Estimate.
Look, all in all, for my campaign for the DA, personally out there, and the T-shirts, I think I ordered 30,000, if I was not wrong.
Yeah.
The number must have been 30,000 each, 30,000 T-shirts for him, and I ordered exactly the same quantity for mine. Remember, he had the T-shirts solely for me.
Yeah.
I paid for those T-shirts. That budget wasn't coming from the DA, and the DA had no shortage of money. I mean, their own programs, they paid for them. But unlike Sony, who depended 100% on DA for salary, for campaigns, I was literally independent in the sense that, yes, whatever they spent on my campaign, but I had they were not paying me that period of campaign. DA was not responsible for my payment. They only provided me with a car and a driver who came to fetch me every morning. And actually, the other day I was thinking about it, that I actually really was risking my life looking at the time of campaigning with DA, would really be in some of the areas at night, having public meetings, street meetings. And I only had the one driver, Marcel Coutris, who is now the ActionSA caucus leader in the city. It was just Marcel and I. And we'll have street meetings in the townships, whatever. Did not actually provide
security.
The security, But But at the time, I didn't realize it. I just realized it years later after I left the DA that's how DA actually really treat us as black people. But fortunate enough, I think uh, um, God protected me, and our people protected me. People were just really very excited at the time to have someone who stood up against the ANC, and also my vocal posture that around Cyril Ramaphosa made some of the people in the DA uncomfortable. And obviously, when I took over as a mayor, focus on poor communities. And it came out in our caucus meetings where some of these guys would really voice their issues about my approach to public service. And because I was on the FedEx and the Federal Council, I would always ask for intervention with the leadership, Busi, and in open the platforms with the party to say I need protection because I've got some of my councillors who don't really agree with what we are doing, and really trying to make my life difficult. I don't know whether they are hired guns or not. I need protection, and I said the only protection I need is for those people, for me not to be racist. Because for you to tell me I must not provide services to black people, black communities, I think I can't call it anything other than it's a racial approach. I regard these people to be racist. And I remember after exposing the secret meetings between Helen Ziller and the ANC and the IRR, they were, they got so stupid to release a WhatsApp message where I was calling some of these guys to be racist, of these councillors racist. So they thought they will attack me. In the meantime, they exposed their malicious way of doing things because caucus, any caucus, be it Tshwane or whatever, everywhere in the country, you have a caucus WhatsApp group. And that WhatsApp group is a confidential thing where we discuss issues of our council and whatever. It's not open to the party.
So they
But the Helen Zell and the IRR happened to have been part of our caucus group. How they got into this, only Helen and IRR needs to explain because they're the one who exposed themselves to have been part of our WhatsApp group. That's why they then, trying to attack me, released this WhatsApp, my WhatsApp message calling this councillors racist. And I was actually proud of that because what I was saying, I'm saying it today, that I call them racist. And it now obviously exposes Helen devious way of operation.
When I spoke to you for the first time in the city of Tshwane, when Dr. Nasipimo was going to office, you had just broken ranks officially with DA, and I asked you that I feel that the DA has actually not only used you but betrayed you with the ANC, like the secret meetings you are talking about with the ANC. Even when you were ActionSA, the DA never had interest in talking to you. The way they talked to you, it wasn't based on good intentions. And even when you broke ranks, they said it not once, not twice, but many times. And when Silas Brank said there, I wanted him to repeat that ActionSA will die in 2026. And he confidently says, yes, you guys are going to die. So what you have just told us is just an example of they actually never had interest in you from the start. They never had interest in working with you. They just wanted to use you.
Not just me.
Yeah.
Musi Maimane, every black person in the DA. You remember what 2 years or 3 years ago, Helen and Tony Leon they gave up on what they called experiments. So we didn't realize that we went in there because of frustration with ANC corruption and mismanagement, and we thought there were an alternative. In the meantime, we didn't realize that these people are trying us as experiments. But then they failed to understand that they are dealing with a different black man or black people here. So that's something that they thought they can control us, they can manage us. And I think for us, it's not a question of being managed. It's a question that I think this what I'm talking to you about. It's something that has been inherent in the right-wing elements who actually use brutality and evil in the past to get a black person to accept that they are inferior. So any black person who resisted, I'm sure you have a little bit of insights into slavery, how any black person that resisted to be dehumanized, how they dealt with us.
So we call it the kinte weeping.
In front of
others. To emasculate you.
No, absolutely. And even including what the apartheid government did to us, to people like Robert Subukwe, people like Steve Biko and others. So any black person that is independent, people like Helen Zillers of this world, they don't take kindly to it. Celia Brink, they think a black person must always accept that he or she is inferior. And unfortunately, you're dealing with the Herman Mashabas of the sort. You can never put me down.
Thank you. For what he just said, go and watch a movie scene from, it's a Pixar film. It's called The End Story, where the bad guys go and pursue one of them who stood up against everyone. It's a beautiful scene that I want to, I commend you to go and watch. But I want to get something here. You spoke about, and this matter doesn't sit well with me, 400 million to campaign for yourself, and you also chipped in.
Not 400 million, 4 million.
4 million, sorry. 4 million to run your campaign when DA had money to do that. You remind me of the story of Mary Paddy in Mpumalanga. I've always insisted that I think at some point, because they come to politics with resources, politicians deliberately use these people. And when we talk about return on investment, we could say you paid school fees. Now you are a fully fledged politician. No one can touch you.
ActionSA is still costing me a lot of money. I don't get paid. Imagine I'm supposed to be at work and I've given the responsibility to my wife to run my family affairs. And every time, every month she has to pay me so that I must also be like other men, be able when I need a beer, I don't have to ask her friends. I don't get paid by the party, and I'm a big donor to the party, but I don't expect anything. I think for me, I'm doing this for the love of my country. I've got nowhere else to run to. If I look at back at my history, I can trace back to my great-grandfather, who I can take you to his grave in Harangu. I used to live in these farms in this area, actually. This area where my grandfather grew up in this area. And my grandfather was born here. They then ended up getting my grandmother and decided, instead of living in the area, when some of his family members, my grandfather's brother, ended up living in Lady Selborne, and the sisters. My grandfather decided to go to and live in Amanskraal, and my father then was born in Amanskraal. So I can show you. It's interesting when some of my distractors, they think they can fool me when I'm against illegal foreigners.
Yeah.
It says I'm from Mozambique.
Was
I can show you. We can go to Harankwe and cemetery where my grandfather, my great grandfather's body was only resumed, I think about 5, 6, 7 years ago, when they were actually putting up developments in this area. Just outside Lady Selborne,
Yeah.
where there was putting up a development, and
Yeah.
there were obviously a small grave area, and my grandfather, Samtseu Philip, because I'm named after
Okay.
him. So that's how the developers approached us as a family when they discovered this Philip Samtseu Mashaba. So we then moved his grave to Harangua. And then my grandfather, it's in Haramutse. My father, it's in Haramutse.
Thanks.
So I'm a fourth generation South African. If ever I have to go back into history. I don't know beyond my great grandfather.
There was a time 2021 was a very great time when you shocked the whole of South Africa with those big numbers, and you had Able Tau as your mayoral candidate. Thing took a turn for the West, and you lost him as a candidate. Well, he acted as a mayor at some point. What happened with Able Tau from your mouth?
It's really one of those issues which actually I took up with John when I later find out the character of Abel Tau. I said, John at the time, remember, was ActionSA Gauteng provincial chairperson. I didn't know Abel Tau before. I only knew him when John and
the audience, who is John?
John Budi. He's in the Gauteng legislature. It's our MPL. He used to be, when I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, he was DA's provincial chairperson. That's how I got to know John, a great guy. And when I discovered the character of Abel Tau, I said to John and the guys, I said, but why did you guys introduce me to this type of character? I don't deal with people like Abel Tau. And when...
what was wrong about him?
It's a devious man. He's another character. I'm sure you know. The final nail came when I discovered him when one of his friends reported him trying to rape his guy. I mean, his personal friend.
Yeah.
In Abel's house. And when this matter came to my attention, and we had proof of it, on few occasions before that time, his wife used to complain to me about the man's behavior. But at the time, I did not really have the evidence. And eventually, God works in his own ways. And when this issue of trying to rape a friend's wife in the home, and this was a man representing us as a party, I said to Senate, I said, this man must go out and must go out as soon as possible. We can never associate with such characters.
So he felt he was let go unfairly because
the final blow came when the question of trying to rape a friend's wife, and he's most welcome to
take you to court.
To take me to court. If he failed to do it, then I don't know why. Because if it was unfairly treated, he should have taken us to court. But I'm sure even now, he's most welcome to take us to court. And I'm glad that we got rid of him at the time now with evidence. And I would not want to associate with such characters.
He has since moved to two parties, but now he's the provincial no, he's the provincial spokesperson of MK here in Gauteng. He might be someone that would go back into the city, and you might have to work with him. With relations this hour, because he's the most senior person for MK party in Tshwane. And this is where you are going to need Dr. Nasiphi Moya to hold on to a mayoral chains. The reason I'm asking you is you might need to go and work with such people. Are you worried that old enemies might take vengeance in talks that don't need that?
Well, I think one has to really face the reality of the political dynamics. Remember, I tried everything possible to not work with the ANC, but eventually the voters forced us to. They really forced us to. The voters forced us to work with the DA in 2021 after having experienced the approach to politics and the issue of provision to black areas. I thought, now we've got our own political party that will respect us. Unfortunately, here we are. I'm working with the ANC, EFF, and the voters of Tshwane and everywhere else, they're the ones who must really decide. We'll work with everyone in a coalition, the government, as long as three preconditions, non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. The first one, I'm saying, please don't cover ActionSA for corruption, because ActionSA will never cover for you.
Okay.
Don't cover
Corruption, yes.
because it will never cover for you.
Yes.
Secondly, let us accept that we are going to provide services to all the communities.
Okay. No go areas.
So if you are saying you only want to provide services to the townships, or you want to provide services to the suburbs, then don't come and talk to us. So we must provide services to all the communities.
All right.
Lastly, that in municipalities where you co-govern with ActionSA, we must commit in advance that illegal foreigners are not welcome in those municipalities. So other stuff, we are flexible. I'm happy to talk.
No, thank you for this one. And I want to take you back when I said we'll talk about Dr. Nasiphi Moya later, because she did a job and she's doing a job much like you that seems to be too good to even upset the people who thought she would fail, like you. So I hosted the provincial secretary of the African National Congress, the regional secretary, Dr. George Majila, your homeboy. So, and here's the problem. He seemed to think it's a mistake that they are not going to repeat. Someone who has less votes, they give them the mayoral chains. According to them, if they've got more seats, they won't repeat the mistake of giving someone who's less seats. That's number one. I spoke to Dr. Maepa. Dr. Maepa doesn't seem to be chuffed as well with Dr. Nasiphi Moya. They said where you sit, and they explained this. And I started realizing that even Obakeng was not happy. Obakeng of the EFF wasn't happy with how Dr. Nasiphi Moya does her job. People talk about they do the work, that's the ANC. They do the work, Dr. Nasiphi Moya comes and cuts she cuts the ribbon. She takes the spotlight of the good work. This is what they say. And people in the comments say that is professional journalism. And I want to tell you, I'm thinking, and this is why you are here, I'm thinking they are going to line up their own candidate to come for the mayoral chains. This is why I asked you that you might need people like Able Tau of MK, because I don't see Dr. Nasiphi Moya coming back. This is me reading the ground. Convince me otherwise. She's not going to come back as a mayor of Tshwane. I spoke to a DA, but off camera, and the lady told me, Mashiane, I see you are touting Dr. Nasiphi Moya as the best in the city, But do you know people know Nasipi Moya, they don't know ActionSA. So they're saying she's too popular than the party. And this is the problem. She does the work not wearing ActionSA colors. Our voters are not clever enough to associate ActionSA with her good deeds. This is what I read the ground using, and this is why I say I don't see her coming back. Please convince us otherwise.
Very interesting, because the arrangement and proposal I gave to the ANC and EFF, I did not really have point a gun at them. So they say they didn't get into this arrangement at the back of a barrel of a gun. And this is what I negotiated. And obviously, they just could not produce anyone better than Dr. Nasipi Moya, because I said to them, well, guys, I'm happy to consider in the event you can give me someone credible. Let's
They're gonna give
end up. And they
the MNC.
and I think the question of Nasipi Moya coming back, I think Nasipi, when she does her work, remember where her maiden speech on the day she was elected as a mayor, for opening remarks, was that she's not an ActionSA mayor. She's the mayor of the people of Tshwane. Do you remember that?
That's the problem of not bringing politicians into this space.
And that's what we are as ActionSA. ActionSA, it's not about the name of our party. It's about making sure that we provide proper governance to whoever we work with. So the question of predicting the outcome and negotiations. So that is why as ActionSA, we've made a mistake. We made a terrible mistake last year or the other year to talk to the DA ahead of time. We are not prepared to take to anyone about coalition until such time that IEC announces the results. Now, once you've got the results...
You are calling the moonshot pact agreements as a mistake?
No, I'm on record. In fact, ask any ActionSA member of I wasn't really happy even to start the discussion at the time. But because I believe I'm a Democrat, a majority of Senate members wanted to pursue that route. But I wasn't happy. But I accepted.
When I was
we will never make that mistake again. No, because I think, one of our poor performance in the 2024 election was association with the DA. That really impacted
I asked you deliberately that, do you regret working and trusting the DA?
No, I can't regret.
And you say it's not a regret because it was an intention.
I can't regret. I'm now in business, official proper business, for over 41 years, and in the 41 years of running a proper business, launched a lot of products that failed, and I don't regret. What I do, I learn from history. That's why I was telling you about history. I'm a student of history in business, in politics, in society, in human nature. If I've made a mistake today, because I don't make deliberate mistakes.
Yes.
I don't operate like that. That is why my survival and my success in life is always around myself, with people I can trust, with people who can voice their issues, because my grandfather instilled in me a sense of taking personal responsibility for my decision. I mustn't go and cry to my grandfather that the Mashiane screwed me. I said, what nonsense is this? You accept it, so don't tell me about Mashiane.
Yeah.
You decide it.
Sure.
If you are not happy, you should not have participated in this activity. So that's how I operate. So I operate in good faith. But in good faith, you will make mistakes. So that is why, for me, in my life, I'm on record to say, as a human being, the only time I feel vulnerable when I'm surrounded by weak people. Why I feel feel scared and vulnerable to be surrounded by weak people, because I've been taught, it's in my DNA, that life is not perfect, and God has given me the brain to be able to navigate the challenges. So every time an issue confronts me, I then apply my mind to really find answers to those. I don't really blame other people. And if I do take a decision, I take a decision. So some of them, I'm going to make mistakes in the process. But I look at my life in reflection. I'm really been really very, very fortunate in the sense that I've made more good decisions than
that ones.
Than ones.
Thank you. I want to talk Xolani, Ekurhuleni, and a vacancy in Johannesburg. But before I do that, I ask you a question. What convinces you, or what convinces you, and what is that you can give your potential voters in Tshwane that you think she will come back? Say the numbers are the same. Say your voters in Tshwane don't give you more numbers than you've got now. What convinces you that she will come back? Because I'm speaking. If the numbers stay the same,
there's no way that our numbers are going to stay the same. But what numbers we'll get, I think it's an academic. I'm not a professor, or an analyst. You see, to be a professor and analyst, it's very easy to stand in front of a class and give them scenarios. There are no consequences.
Yes.
But for a politician like myself, there are consequences. If I give you a number, and I don't make that number, then you're going to hold me to it. So I'm saying I'm convinced that our numbers should easily be more than double of what we've got. You can hold me to that number.
I'm holding you to that. You are not going to double your numbers. That's number one. Number two, if you don't increase your seats, there's no way she's coming back.
Well, let's cross that.
Thank you.
That river when we get to it.
Thank you very much. Xolani, Khumalo, sabotaged deliberately. These are politicians knowing that here's Mashaba bringing us another
problem.
Yes, another problem. And the Gauteng municipalities, the worst one is Ekurhuleni. This is where the blue lights comrades are. And I've applauded you when I was sitting with Michael Boom, and I was actually telling him that, Mashaba has used his own model of bringing out people who are not out and out politicians to come and upset this thing. Do you remember how angry, in fact, there were more politicians who were angry about your choice with Xolani, and then I told people, this is why you knew he'd make a great decision, because they were very worried. It's if
that's good.
And as we sit now, he's out on bail, and he does a good job for the community, and this is why you took him. But here we are. They are trying to rubbish his image, so he can't be your man in the council.
No, he's going to be.
What? So
he's in council now. He's a councillor.
No, he's a councillor.
He's going to. He's the mayor in waiting.
Yes, but then you've got comebacks. They're rubbishing his name as we speak. They're carrying away the good thing that you have.
No, I can tell you it's completely different.
What is he facing?
Going to the communities all over the country, not in Ekurhuleni.
Yeah.
Xolani is becoming more popular, loved by the community for fighting drug cartels.
But the Eastern must vote.
Yes, that's what I'm saying is, how then can anyone tell me that?
Who do you suspect is behind this?
No, drug cartels. They've been doing this to him ever since the launch of his program, since October. Xolani has been facing this for the longest of time. Just to really give you a sense of how convinced Xolani to... last year sometime when he approached me, gave me a call. I didn't know him. We didn't know each other. I know of him and his program.
Yes.
And never really had this in my mind. But God works in his own ways. He's really very strong believer. So I get a call from Xolani wanting to come and see me. Okay, I accepted to come and see him, met him in my offices, and he was with his wife, and gave me a proposal of his program, and he runs the Xolani Khumalo Foundation. He was obviously coming to look for funding to fund this project. And there and there, while we were talking, something just clicked to me to say, look, this young man, his heart is at the right place. And really, I fell in love with him and the work that he was doing. And instead of saying yeah or nay to him, I then said to him and the wife, I said, look, do you guys mind that I have to go and consult my family because I don't work myself and I'm no longer in charge directly of family businesses. I will call you in a few weeks' time to get together. By that time, I'd already decided during that discussion that no, man, you know what? This boy comes from Tembisa. And there's a lot of nonsense happening in the Guruleni municipality. I don't have another Nasipi there as yet. So I said, I want to buy time to apply my mind on how I must approach him. As soon as I've made up my mind and how I must approach him, I called them back. And I said, guys, thank you very much for coming to see me again. And really like what you guys are doing. But I think, Xolani, this whole issue of running your program with these criminal cartels in our country, you're not going to succeed. Yes, you will expose these guys and put your life at risk and the frustration, because these drug cartels are not going to stop laying charges against you, I believe, God has got another plan for you. You come from Ekurhuleni. Why don't you stand to really be ActionSA's mayoral candidate? And I said, look, I know Xolani. I was in the position like you when I accepted to be a politician. I never thought in my life that I would one day become a politician. But your love for justice is beyond anyone can. And look, I've already done my study. People, they don't like you, they love you. Not only in Ekurhuleni, all over the country. So that's how I got Xolani to accept the responsibility, realizing that doing it the way...
Did you not consult the Senate?
What was it?
Did you not consult the
No, not as yet, because I could not. I only consulted the Senate after Xolani had accepted. And I tell you, ask any of the members of Senate, more than half of them didn't believe me. They liked they said, we will only believe the when we see. When we see, he says, how did you do it? I said, guys, I'm presenting to you. Are you guys happy? This is the guy is happy to serve our country. And yes, and organized that press conference to announce him. And so we knew this is going to intensify. In fact, just today alone, I received more the plans by the criminal syndicates within our criminal justice system coming out with plans to destabilize Xolani. So even today, I've got more issues coming from our criminal justice system members. Fortunate enough, they're a minority. So as far as I'm concerned, I might be wrong, because General Khumalo last week in the ad hoc committee, you remember, said 80% in Gauteng are working for drug cartels. I still believe that they are a minority, because we are assisted. Xolani is assisted by majority of the policemen and women in the system, so they can try.
Thank you.
They can only really help Xolani's campaign.
Sure. Hijacked buildings in Johannesburg, what kind of candidate, mayoral candidate, that you're gonna field, and will they be able to finish the work that you started with hijacked buildings? When you answer that, maybe start it with how you believe hijacked buildings are done and what is the best way to solve. And you think how you're gonna want this candidate of Johannesburg from ActionSA to be able to solve these things.
Well, fortunate enough, I've already laid the foundation through council. In the city of Johannesburg, there's a council-approved report called the Inner City Rejuvenation Plan. During the 3 years as a mayor, identified just over 600 buildings and properties. When I left, I don't know if you're aware, when I left the city, by then, we had already awarded 154 buildings to the private sector. People with money, because we had conditions with the private sector. We said, guys, here are buildings, we are giving them in batches. By the time I left, we had already awarded 154. Awarded. In fact, I think about 2 or 3 or so of them I'd already went out to do sorting. They were ready to start. But then, unfortunately, dark evil forces sabotaged this process. And when Jeff Makubu took over, then decided to JPC to say, put that report aside. It's a Mashaba project. It's got nothing to do with us. So obviously, when Joburg residents give us an opportunity to lead the city of Johannesburg, those reports must come back. And those who listen to Jeff Makubu will face the consequences, because it is illegal what they did. They are in contempt of council-approved projects. So you can imagine companies that put up bids for this, how much money they had to spend, because they had to prove to us that they had the funding, because we were not really playing games. As part of our bid specifications, you had to prove that you've got the money. You had to prove to us how many people you are going to employ, and also how many units you're going to develop. And 30% of them, we're not following the Cape Town model. That's what upset some people in the DA. When I said 30% of the units in the city of Johannesburg must go to low-income earners and students. And I remember some of the people in the DA didn't like this condition, but we were oversubscribed. The private sector had no problem with this. So, and that's we need to reopen that case. Our current councillors, on 2 occasions where council voted to reopen these cases, but unfortunately, that Amorara just ignores us. So, in the event, not in the event, they're going out. It'll be one of our key priorities. Mm-hmm. Those 154 buildings, we'll have to call those companies back to see if they still have the appetite. If they still have the appetite, they're already approved. So
who do you think is eating? Who do you think is providing this fracas that you are going to solve deliberately so they can continue eating? Who are you suspecting?
Well, officials obviously led by the ANC in the city of Johannesburg, because I think what's important is if you don't really have a willing political leadership, unfortunately, that's the kind of stuff that you face. So, but if you have the political will, like what's happening in Xolani, remember the city of Xolani, was it in September last year when they had an investment conference already with the properties that they wanted to give it to the private sector? They were expecting to raise what, 4.5 billion rand? On the day of the conference, they raised 16 billion rands, committed 16 billion rands. So right now they have, or I can't remember what they call it in the city of Johannesburg, where they are giving abandoned properties to the private sector. Some of them, they've already started building. In fact, was it a month or so ago where the city actually renovated one of their buildings? They've already moved in there, and now, because they were renting from probably a tenderpreneur, they've moved, no more the city of Tshwane paying rentals. They moved it, they renovated those property, and they moved in. They're saving millions every month instead of the renting. And there are properties where they're waiting for the private sector's proposals in the city of Tshwane. And the city of Johannesburg will do the same thing. Immediately, we want to reopen those cases, and there was going to be consequences for people who were in contempt of council-approved reports. And we'll do the same in Kuruleni. Kuruleni is also under attack, so Xolani is very much aware. So we will, we'll work with them. It is our plan as ActionSA. We're working very hard to ensure that we can have ActionSA leadership in these 3 metros. Because you can imagine the impact we'll make. They can keep that GNU. You can imagine if ActionSA runs these 3 metros, we work together. We will then be controlling the economy of this country, because we'll get rid of illegal foreigners. We will work with the private sector to develop housing and investments in the city of Johannesburg. I don't know if you're aware, in the city of Joburg, when I took over, the most the city had ever, in terms of direct investments, was 4.6 billion rands. When I left 2019, the target for the city manager was 9.5 billion rands. You know what he raised in terms of direct investments that approved by the Auditor General? 17 billion. I'd given the city manager, the part of his KPIs was direct investments was 9.5. We raised just over 17 billion rands of investments.
Almost double. Yeah.
Yes. So and these are things that people like Helen felt uncomfortable to see a black man doing this, because it, when they see a black person doing this, it kills their narrative going forward.
I want to ask you about exactly Helen. The DA proudly says they already have mayoral candidates. Silas Brand was sitting here just after they announced them. They already having someone they're working with. Helen Zille. Helen Zille is ready. She's taking everyone one by one because she's heading to the mayoral chains. Who do you have at the back of your mind? Is the Senate running candidates? Is the machinery on? What should we expect? What kind of candidate are you going to bring?
In fact, I made an announcement on one of the SABC programs on Tuesday that ActionSA is going to be announcing our mayoral candidate on the 21st of February. So this is the second time I'm announcing.
Okay, wait.
So 21st of February,
yes,
in Soweto, it's going to be a big event where ActionSA is going to be presenting the ActionSA mayoral candidate to the residents of the city of Johannesburg.
You already have the candidate?
No, we're finalizing, but we know that will be ready by then.
How many people are you seeing?
And what we are saying is that
how many
Soweto will send you. There's going to be one person. We can't have 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, no, I'm saying
there's going to be only one person.
Are you choosing from?
There's going to be 21st of February 2026.
I'll be there.
Let's check. ActionSA is going to be announcing the mayoral candidate.
Let's check.
For 21st February. Johannesburg is very important to us.
Saturday, 21st February.
February. I think about it will be about
day.
10
Let me say.
Yeah, please make sure that you put it.
ActionSA Soweto.
Yeah, in fact,
Correct. I've got it on
I
lockdown.
said to Clement, it was Clement Mayatele who was interviewing me on Face the Nation. So I said, and I'm saying to you, put it in your diary. Let's not get involved in technicalities.
I'll do that as well. I'll see insert. You are good at keeping a secret.
No, it's not a secret. We're going to announce on.
No, the secret is you're not telling us. You're not telling us who's the person. You beat us with a bomb with Xolani. We didn't expect it. So I'm going to be in Soweto waiting for this one. Now, we are done with the interview. I'm just going to give you random names. You just give me who's the better devil. Is that fine?
Yeah,
Random names.
whatever.
Cyril Ramaphosa, Helen Zille. Who's the better devil?
Same cloth. Same cloth.
Really?
You know, as far as I'm concerned, Cyril and Helen are working for dark forces to destroy this country. I put them in the same league.
Okay.
They are in the Premier League.
Julius Malema, Jacob Zuma.
I think I would give a better devil would be Julius Malema.
Julius Malema.
Jacob Zuma, we know what he did. I mean, selling our country to the Guptas. So whereas with Julius Malema, we know how he was compromised as a young man by the ANC. But I've had an opportunity to work with him in Johannesburg, and we work with him. I think I'm on record to say that during my 3 years as a mayor, EFF was the most supportive and constructive about the member of our coalition, though they were not official they were not our official team members, but they were the most constructive. I've had a few meetings from time to time when I'm negotiating with his caucus. They would really request me to engage their national leadership. I've engaged him on few occasions, and I found him to really be very constructive. And in fact, I think, for me, when I was the mayor, EFF helped to me with a lot of stuff, like because they come from the ANC and everyone knew. I was open to say, look, I have to get rid of cadres who were employed in the city for not what they knew about who they knew. No. So EFF helped me to identify snakes, what I used to call snakes. They were very helpful with it. When we embarked on an insourcing program, they were there helping, working with us. When we went for the inner city rejuvenation project, as much as it was not an EFF policy, and they saw the merits of inviting the private sector because they realized, because initially when I proposed the inner city rejuvenation, good intention, but good intentions not good enough. They said, no, Mashaba, we agree with you. Let's take over those buildings, but us as a city, let's develop them. But then I had to open the books to them to say, guys, the books, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. And at the same time, people who voted for you as the EFF, look at where they live. We cannot let our people live like pigs and allow illegal foreigners and criminals, syndicates, live in these buildings. I said to them, actually, you know what I said to them? I said, let's exploit private money, the ones that you think we don't need. I said, let's get them to build affordable accommodation for our people. And they were very supportive.
Thank you. Song that's Zibi, Musi my man.
I think Musi is a great guy, but I think as a leader, I have concerns. But I think he's a great human being. I really like the Musi, but Musi does not really cannot make decisions. I mean, to really give you an example, when I came across the secret meetings between Helen Zille, IRR, and ANC. I brought this to his attention before I exposed it myself. I wanted him to be the one to expose this and bring this matter to Helen and
He was afraid.
yeah, and I ended up being the one exposing it because he said I must give him time, and so this is just one example. You know, it is not like me. We don't. I'm not scared to make decisions. You know, and Zonges, I've not really had direct relationship with him, but I know in 2021 actually, by that time I was already not comfortable with Abel Dow. And then someone said, Herman, why don't you talk to Songezo? At the time, I was working for Absa Bank. So I had a meeting with him and gave him a proposal to be our mayoral candidate. Unfortunately, a few weeks later or a month later, came back to say, no, Herman, not with the work that I'm doing, I won't be. So that's the first time when I met him face to face. So probably that's what triggered his interest to come into politics. Yeah, okay. I approached him to really be our mayoral candidate for Tshwane. By that time, as I say, I was already getting nervous about the Abel Tau, but I did not really have evidence. But I can tell you, if Songezo had accepted to stand,
that would have been
would not have stood as our mayoral candidate.
Okay. Johnston Hazen and the young men papas from KwaZulu-Natal.
I would start the same, but I can't say one is better. I don't know. I know John through obviously our interaction when I was the mayor, you know, but he's proving to really be a big leader in terms of his own personal conduct and his personal life. You know, it's not the kind of person that. In my world,
it's not an honorable person.
No, it's not an honorable person that I'll give him the responsibility. Whereas the young man in KZN, I think I must have met him once or twice, but just greeting. So I don't think it would be fair for me to give him a score because I don't really know.
All right. Fikile Mbalula, Floyd Shivambu. Who's the better devil?
The same as Cyril and Helen Zille.
You can't trust them.
No, I think the same. They come from the same cloth. I had an opportunity with Floyd when I was the mayor. I would really have the meeting with Malema, and Malema would agree with me and says, "Look, Herman, you know, to make sure that I follow process, let me give the matter to Floyd." And a few days later, Floyd would really come back and say, no, it can't be done or whatever. So it doesn't look like he's the type of guy that sees the big picture. I think he looks at issues from his personal perspective, but I think it wouldn't really be fair for me to say it is general nature because I've not really had enough engagement.
The better devil between Fikile and Floyd? Who's better?
Not the same.
They're the same.
The same.
Okay. Historical. Dr. Mamphela Ramphele, Winnie Madikizela Mandela.
Two great South Africans. I'll give them the same score. I like both of them.
Thank you very much. I think this is the time you say goodbye to your audience. Thank
you so much for this necessary engagement. Remember this type of engagement 40 years ago, if you and I had it, it will disappear.
Yes.
Well, for security purposes, because we're not allowed to really have this kind of discussion. So I think we must be grateful of this new South Africa with its own problems, but at least we are able to admit the faults of our country. We are in a position to debate solutions, and without having to worry that the secret police will make you disappear. I mean, I've got my grandfather's brother. Even up to today, as a family, we don't know. Used to live here in Lady Selborne, working as a prison warden here in Pretoria. And because he was a vocal black man, he disappeared. And I only learned much later, after my grandfather's passing, because my grandfather never told me about this. I learned about it, and in reflection, I know my grandfather was a disturbed man, because I realized how close he was with his brother, and he disappeared by the security police. Even up to today, we don't know what happened, because they then transferred him from Pretoria to obviously somewhere in Mpumalanga, and even up to today. And one of his 3 children, and though you can imagine they were still young, one of his children still alive in Mamelodi. Every time I go and talk to every time I talk to them, they, the time 3 of them all 3 of them were still alive, and 2 has since passed, and there's only one left in Mamelodi, the youngest. So and used to relate to me. One thing that my grandfather used to relate to me, the pain of being used during the Second World War, and taken to Egypt and those areas in the war, how they were treated, fighting for something that they didn't know what they were fighting for. And coming back, and the only thing he was given was a bicycle. And his white counterparts were given farms. The black ones were given a bicycle, and his white counterparts were given farms.
Thank you very much, and apologies for the loss at your family. Condolences. Mashiane Politically Incorrect has been a long one. What are your impressions of the president? He keeps things very cagey. He has big surprises. I know in Soweto he's going to rock us very well. He knows how to keep a secret. I'll be going to Soweto to go and listen. What are your thoughts? I mean, specifically about Mangope, Buputatswana, being the best among all the Bantustans. He lived there, he grew up there, and this is where he flourished. And for a man who has done good business for the past 41 years, is something very marvelous. He doesn't seem to take instructions from people who he feels they are negative to him. And this is a good thing for politicians, because he can say no to adverse forces. Mashiane Politicallyincorrect, tell me what you feel about it. Tete Mashaba. Thank you.
Thank you so much.